Good morning and welcome to Flannel Hill Farm. Today we're going to talk about picking chicks. So we need to start with research chickens. We need to research chickens. Are chickens best for us? Do we have enough room for chickens? Are we capable of taking care of chickens? Chickens are fairly easy to take care of, but it is a thing. Like, they still need to be fed, they still need to be watered. Are you in a place where you can go out every day to feed and water your chickens, let them outside? If you're gonna free range, you gotta open the coop and let them out. And then you gotta make sure that you're there at night to put them back in so they don't get attacked by predators. So are chickens a good idea for you? What do you want or need from a chicken? This is where, do you want meat or do you want eggs? We're going to focus on the eggs aspect. And then how many chickens do you need? That's going to dictate how many eggs you get, how much space you need to accommodate these chickens. So let's say we figured that out. We want a dozen eggs a day from our chickens. And that means we get an egg every other day from a chicken, generally speaking. So we need 24 chickens. And we have the room for those chickens. We know what we're going to build for those chickens. We can feed those chickens. We can handle those chickens. So we need 24. Now our question is, what breed? So we know that egg color doesn't matter. There is no difference to nutritional value. It's all in what you feed your chickens. So egg color doesn't matter. It might be a personal preference for egg color. I personally like the brown color of an egg over the white color of an egg, and it might just be because it's different. I don't know. But if you put a brown egg and a white egg in front of me, I'm going to gravitate towards a brown egg with no thought as to where each one of them came from or anything like that. You also have egg size. There's different egg sizes. I always go for at least a large egg. You look at recipes and they call for a large or an extra large egg. If you have small eggs, you kind of have to do some math and figure out how many you need to make up for the fact that they're small and not large. And then we're doing all kinds of extra stuff. So, egg size, rate of lay. This is how many eggs they will lay per year, generally speaking, for the breed. I always go a little high. I like 240 to 280. That's my sweet spot number. That's what I like. You can get some that lay like 300 eggs a year. I don't know, I feel like they don't get enough time to like be a chicken. They're just eating and doing what they need to do to lay an egg. I don't know. I think 240 to 280 is a good compromise. I feel like I'm getting enough out of you to make it worth it, and you're still able to be a chicken and just have some fun days, get some days off kind of thing. So that's my sweet spot, 240, 280. I feel like we can work together at that. How much they weigh at a mature weight, at a mature age. This is a big one for me because here on Flannel Hill Farm, chickens stops laying eggs at about 3-ish years old generally. So at that point, you will be what they call a soup bird. So we want a pretty good size soup bird. You don't want to like have a chicken for 3 years that gave you eggs and then you go to have chicken noodle soup and you put a whole bird in there and it's 4 pounds. I mean, I would much rather get 8 or 9 or 9.5 pounds out of a chicken than 4. So that's what we're going to look at. And you also have to look at when the chicks are available. So when is a good time for you to get your chicks to start raising them? And when are they available? That's kind of going to be a breed specific thing that you're going to have to figure out. the one thing that I really don't care about, and this could be something that you do care about, is the actual appearance of the chicken. So like what the chicken looks like, what color they are, or what they look like, or the combination of colors. Or are you going to put black chickens and red chickens and orange chickens all together? Some people might like that, some people might not. You might want multiple different birds, breeds, put them all in there. Do you. But that's something I really don't care about. I want a good egg layer. I want something that's hardy. I want something that's going to be large enough to be a good size soup bird, and I want a good egg size. Those are my top 4 things that I want. So, I bought my chickens. The chickens that are here now were bought from Ideal Poultry breeding farm. And they sent me an actual catalog, and I think a lot of them do this. If not, they all have websites that are pretty easy to use. So I'm just going to use this because it's actually laid out really well. So when you look at this, you get a breed, which we have Barred Rocks out there on Flannel Hill. We have Barred Rocks and Buff Orpingtons, which are, off topic, a very good set of breeds for beginners. They're fantastic. Barred Rock, they are black with white barring, which this I don't really care about. Egg color is brown if you care about that. Egg size extra large, 240 eggs a year. Their comb is single, which I've never really gotten into. They're mature weight, and they're available year-round. Now, Barred Rocks, just because I've done more research than this into Barred Rocks and Buff Orpingtons, I know that both of them are heritage breeds, which means they are very old. They're very hardy. They're those breeds that haven't been mixed. They've kind of come from, I think Barred Rocks are from like the 18th century. So they're an older breed, been around a while. So this is a good kind of magazine to look at. Whereas my Buff Orpington is here. So Buff Orpington, rich golden, brown, large, 200 a year, single comb, weights, and when they're available, January through October. So, plus, I got Buffs and Barred Rocks because I was willing to have a Barred Rock or a Buff Orpington rooster fertilize each one's eggs, and then you get a breed that they've already come up with, which is a Buff Rock. So, I was willing to have both of those and have them crossbreed. Here it will tell you the pricing of each one, so that's something that you need to look at too, is how much and where to get them. You know, if somebody's going to charge you $6 a chick, but other people are going to charge you $4 a chick, might be something to look into. What are you getting? What are you not getting? So that, figuring out the breed, and then figure out where. And I think that's where you're going to come into the how close. The closer that you are to the breeding farm, the less travel the chicks do. So that's something to think about. Another thing to think about is what will they do for your chicks. Merrick's disease. Merrick's disease, they have a vaccination for, and I believe it's something, I believe Merrick's disease is something that can come from wild birds. But in here it says that they recommend you only vaccinate if you're mixing birds, have ever been diagnosed with Marek's disease, or have ever had chickens vaccinated for Marek's disease living on the property. So that's something you gotta decide for yourself, and what you want to do. I mean, some people don't want any vaccinations in their chicks at all. Some people, you want to save your chick best you can. So that's right here. This will be what they're put in a box with holes, and it's banded shut, and that's how they're shipped to you. And you can get extra stuff put in there, so you can get Go Gel, you can get a water thing. They're gonna come with some food, but I think this Go Gel is actually, it's a supplement. So it has like more electrolytes, it'll keep them more hydrated. So there's things to think about there. Ideal Poultry is a pretty good one. They're from Texas, so they're not the closest to me. In Missouri, we have Cackle Hatchery, which is a good option. This just happened to be the one that had a delivery date still open when I wanted to get them last year, so it just worked out better for us. There's places all over. You can go to Murray McMurray. I think they're in Iowa. There's a pretty good one out in Pennsylvania. They're all over the place. So you just kind of got to look, figure out where you want to get yours from. YouTube's a good one. If you find people that are homesteading in your state on YouTube, they will have where they get theirs from, which is generally closer because of shipping, and you know that those chicks will survive to you because they survive to them. And then when are you going to get them? So chicks have to be, I think it's 90 degrees. They have to be kept at about 90 degrees for the first 1 or 2 weeks of life. That's pretty warm. So unless you're going to insulate a brooder, put a heat lamp over it, keep it awfully warm, I don't recommend you get them in Minnesota in the winter. It's going to be a lot of artificial heat you got to create to make sure that they survive just the first 2 weeks. Then it'll kind of drop down, but still, you're in the middle of winter, you still got to keep them at 85 degrees for the next week or two. So when to get them is a big deal too. You want to make sure that they're going to be warm enough and you're going to be out there to deal with them every day, because chicks need a little bit more attention. You got to make sure you're feeding them enough. You got to make sure they always have water. You got to make sure that it's not too hot, not too cold. So that is picking chicks. That was kind of a lot of information, but it's a lot of information that you kind of need. And you're gonna have these chickens for at least 3 years, 3.5, 4 years. Making sure that you started out right is a good idea. Starting out on the wrong foot for something that's gonna be around for 3.5 to 4 years is kind of a drag. So doing all this research now, doing it now in the winter, making that your winter project would be a good idea. Researching chickens and seeds is a very good winter project to do. That's all I have about picking chicks. On your way back down the hill, if you wouldn't mind liking, sharing, subscribing, hitting that little bell notification button thing down there. And please do remember, we appreciate y'all.